Hello everyone and welcome to part 18 of the React series. Today's topic is useRef hook. useRef is one of the crucial hooks that let you perform side effects in your React application, such as manipulating the DOM and creating persistence values. In today's video, we will learn how to use refs properly, and also at the end of the video, we will look at how useRef hook is different from useState hook and some tips that will help you experience with useRef. Also hit subscribe button if you are new so you will not miss out on any part of this React tutorial series. Let's get started. First of all, what is useRef hook in React? In the process of building a React application, you will encounter a situation where you have to touch the DOM element. For example, to focus the input field, get the position, get element height and width. useRef is a hook in React and used for two main reasons. Access the DOM element that allows interaction with React component or HTML node element directly, and store state or instance values allow you to persist across render. I will give you two code examples in each case. First, we will learn basics of ref, what is refs and how to implement in React application. Refs is a short form of reference. To get real information, we need to create a reference with the help of useRef hook. References are used in React to access the properties of a DOM element or a React component. Before the useRef hook introduction, it was difficult to carry out some specific tasks such as focusing on the input fields and measuring position. Creating a reference needs three steps. Inside functional component, import useRef from React library. Create a constant with initial value. It can also be used as a placeholder. You can specify any data type as initial like a number, string, boolean, object or null, but initializing the value null, undefined or 0 during render is best practice. Ref attribute in React. Ref attribute is a built-in key prop. We can use the ref attribute on any HTML element in which we want the difference value of the DOM node to directly manipulate it or accept the state or props of a component. useRef hook return the ref object with a special current property which holds the current reference values of the element. You can use this current property to read the reference value with reference current and modify the current value with different current equal to update value without causing the component to re-render. Let's take a look at the first use case, which is DOM manipulation. In certain situations, we need to access the DOM element in React component and change the behavior of the HTML element, which can't be done through state and props alone. I have an input and a button on the page, and here button is disabled. In this example, I will reference the button. So if input field is empty, you can't submit the form until an input field has a value. So let's go to VS Code. I have user component and a form. First, let's import useRef from React library. So here I will import it. Now I'm going to create references for input and a button. So create reference constant input ref and save initial value in useRef null and create one for a button. So constant button ref and save null as initial value. In the next step, we will set ref attribute. So in the input field, we will provide ref with input ref that we created earlier. And on the button, we will also provide ref with button ref. Reference return a plain JavaScript object with current property, which we can read the value and modify by calling the disable on the button element. So in the functional component, let's create the handle input chain with constant inside. We will access the current value of a ref object that is used to reference a button element by button ref current, disable. Disable is a property of a button element that we set to true, which prevent the introduction. We will now unset the disable property. Input ref, current, value, and compare it to the empty string. Now specify onChain event, onChain, and pass the handler function handle input change. After saving it, let's go to the browser. Button is disabled, and when I am typing out, it is enabled. You see our form is working as we expected. If I typing out, it enabled, and if I empty the field, it disabled again. Let's look at the other use case, which is persistent value. useRef hook is also used to store referencing values that persist across directories. It stores value in memory and only updates when you modify it with the current property, which means data remain unchanged even after a component update or re-render due to some action. We can store the value of the timer or event listener and update it as needed. Once again, I will use this form to demonstrate the use case of storing timeout ID. If I use state, value is going to render on the screen. So let me quickly add it. I use state and state variable and also bind the input field with state name function. I already explained state and form handling. You can save React tutorial series and watch it from the beginning. In this example, if I fill out the form, Alpida, and submit it, there will be small delay before values are shown on the screen. But if I make a quick modification, like I change this into Batman, I want to display the change value on the screen. But state won't keep track of my most recent changes. Here we can use useRef, and because value passes between re-render, we can read the value and modify data before it displayed on the screen. Let's start with creating ref called timeout ref with initial value null. In the submit handler function, we will check if timeout is set with timeout current ref. So if timeout ref current, and if it does, we will clear timeout calling clear timeout function. So call clear timeout and pass the argument timeout ref current. And if it doesn't, we will set it. So here we will set timeout ref current to the return value of set timeout arrow function and update the message with set message function with name and message has been submitted. Give it 5 seconds, 1000 milliseconds. So message is going to appear after 5 seconds. So let me save it, and in the browser, if I type Joker into this input form and hit enter and quickly change it to Batman and press enter, and here it render Batman instead Joker. We successfully set and cleared the timeout. Let me again try it. I will type apple, save it and change it to banana and submit it. Banana has been appeared instead of apple. In this example, we use both state and ref hook. Remember, when you want to render data on the screen like name and message, store it at the state, and if you need it in the memory and changing it doesn't require re-render, save it in the ref. This is how we use useRef, and now we will look at the differences between useRef and useState. Refs allow you to access and manipulate HTML element properties, whereas useState is treated as immutable and doesn't support mutable methods like pop and push. UseState hook manages stateful values that can change over time, while useRef hook stores value that has to persist between renderings. Changing state values cause component to re-render, but ref hold value in memory and have no effect on rendering. UseState and useRef hook each have their own set of capabilities, but they can be used together to manage and maintain React components. Before I end this video, I would like to share some best practices and tips for enhancing your experience with useRef. Preface the variable name with ref, for example, button ref and input ref. This helps to determine the variable stored references value. You will enjoy using the useRef hook, but don't overdo it. It is best to handle component function in the React approach. Somewhat useRef functionality match the state but avoid ref for state management as it doesn't trigger re-render. UseRef is used to reference a DOM element, but you should not create a reference during rendering or manipulate DOM directly. Instead, use useEffect or events handler to update reference data. Give it a try in your React application. Store input value or scroll position and share your experience in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and follow me on Instagram. I will see you in the next one.